Chelsea take all 3 points at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They've scored 9 goals away from home this week alone across 2 games. There's 21 shots on target in that time, including 8 in this game here today. And they've done it in style. They've won this one by 4 goals to 3. It's the first time that both teams have scored over 2.5 in terms of expected goals so far this season. And Chelsea on top in terms of touches in the opponent's box, passes in the final third, and had the lion's share of the possession. In a very low-key way, that's about as close as you're going to get to a player saying, yeah, we are definitely in this title race from Cole Palmer. Jamie Carragher has joined us. Paul and Jamie were talking about Cole Palmer just a little bit earlier on and how much of an impact he has. That's all 12 of his penalties he's scored, which is the best 100% record in the Premier League, as Emma mentioned in the interview. But that aside, just talk about his contribution to this game today.
Well, I mean, listen, he gets the penalties involved in the Fernandes goal as well. I mean, there's 3 or 4 players around him, and that's what great players do. You fear when he's on the ball. And, I mean, I've been watching, I loved him last season. He started this season really well. And I think I made a comment a few weeks ago that if you look at his almost 18 months at Chelsea, I don't think there's been a player in the Premier League who's performed better than him over these 18 months. And he hasn't been playing for the best team. I mean, they look like one of the best teams in the league right now. But when you think of Chelsea over the years and the great players they've had some great attacking players. But when you think of those flair players, I'd think of like Zola and Hazard. I think he's probably done more than Zola in these 18 months that he's done. You know, and Zola's probably going to go down as one of the greatest players to ever play for Chelsea. And he's probably on the same sort of level as what I've seen Hazard do, but maybe a longer period of time at Chelsea for 4 or 5 years. But right now, I think the way he's going, and if he can take Chelsea to a title, whether it's this season or the next 2 or 3 seasons, he's going to go down as one of the greatest players to ever play for Chelsea if he keeps doing what he's doing. He is a very, very special player, and not just in the Premier League, in European or world football.
Paul, it will take a longer period of time for Cole Palmer to establish himself as one of the greats, as Jamie says. But just in terms of that 18 months since he came to Chelsea, talk about the impact that he's had in that time.
Well, phenomenal. First of all, coming down from Man City, coming down from Manchester to London is a big move in itself, you know, and he's a young lad.
Especially with the trains.
And he's come into the team and he's been outstanding. When you first come into the team, you're a young kid, you come from Man City, no one really knows about him, didn't play loads, so you get a bit of a free hit. You know, you play your stuff and people don't pick you up. The last 6-7 months, he's the big boy. You know, the name of the game is stop Cole Palmer. Stop him playing, maybe he might be able to stop Chelsea. He can't do it. And that shows how good he is, because he becomes present in team talks. If you're the manager of another team, you're like, right, we need to stop Cole Palmer. As soon as we lose the ball, someone go and connect on him. He's too intelligent. He gets into space. He's always got space, always got time. I couldn't talk highly enough of him. Everybody needs an X factor to win Premier League titles. You've got to have that bit of something extra. Like today, you know, he gets the 2 penalties, sets and makes it happen for the Fernandes goal. You need that. If you want to win titles, you need to have that X factor, and Chelsea have it with him. Well, 100%.
It was talk about him going on loan to Burnley. That was a feeling that he might do just to get his confidence, get playing again. And I think he made the move to come down here. And what a move for him. Because it takes a lot. You have to obviously move down from Manchester. He's obviously a Manchester lad. To make that change and come, it's been just life-changing for him, because he's found a club, he's found a good manager in Pochettino that gave him, because I think you need a platform for him, because you have to give him the right tools to just let him play and let him get on the ball. And great players need that, because if you put them under too much pressure or you ask them to run back too often, it's not going to work. What you have to do is when that ball breaks down, and that's why Tottenham was just perfect, because when the ball breaks down, they just kept leaving him so much space. And the things he does on a ball are just absolutely frightening. It's like a throwback of players who are just playing with no fear. It's like he's playing up in the goals with his mates, you know, in the afternoon, just playing, just going past people. The game is so effortless for him. Just
before we take a look at the goals, Chelsea and the title challenge, how real is it? How strong is it?
It is real because they're there. I think the big advantage for them is the fact that they're not playing Champions League, so Merson can almost change the whole team. And when you change the whole team, it's still a proper team. You know, you look at the players who they've got on the bench. I mean, they've got probably 6 or 7 forwards who you could arguably say are first choice in some ways. I think not being in the Carabao Cup might be important if Liverpool or Arsenal get to sort of the semi-finals and the final. But I still look at the goalkeeper and the 2 centre-backs, or Badiashile, who played today, and I just think I can't see someone winning the Premier League with that goalkeeper and without a real standout centre-back. And I think of, say, City winning it with, Ederson and Diaz, Liverpool with Van Dijk and Alisson, going back to Petr Cech and John Terry. Those figures you think that you need to win a title, I still think Chelsea are a little bit short in those areas.
Let's take ourselves right back to the start of the game. Chelsea actually in this one went 2-0 down, the earliest they've done in the Premier League since 1996. Dominic Solanke with the opening goal and Marc Cucurella just slipping all over the place in the opening stages.
But Spurs started the game so well, Kelly. They came out the blocks flying. It was a great piece of movement by Solanke. And the change that he made in the second half, Maresca, because Badiashile didn't look happy on the right-hand side, and he changed it there. But what Solanke does, he just gets on his blind spot and then nips in front of him, and it's a brilliant finish. It really was. Obviously, he's got the wrong shoes on there, but what you still have to do is punish him. You have to make sure you get the right quality. Brennan Johnson plays it into a good area, good movement, good finish. And that's exactly what you're trying to do. And then you felt a little bit, this could be Spurs' day. They've got the best back four in place, obviously not got the keeper, but they looked like they were in the ascendancy, looked confident, looked powerful. Then they go 2-0 up, and then you're thinking, well, this is certainly going to be Tottenham's day. But with the way they play and how open they are, it's never going to happen.
And he slipped again, Jamie Cucurella.
Yeah, well, listen, he was going to continue slipping if he hadn't changed the boots over. But it comes to Kulusevski. I mean, we've seen him score. It feels like we've seen him score that goal 2 or 3 times when he comes across and he beats you at the near post. But, I mean, from Cucurella's point of view, the fact that you've got the wrong boots on, that's not sorted before the game or whatever it is, that's really poor. And he's probably lucky that they've ended up going and winning, because that's one that, be really pointed out by their own supporters and the coaching staff. But, yeah, listen, I mean, Tottenham put themselves in a fantastic position, 2-0 up, and we're thinking, what a weekend you're thinking of for Liverpool. All these teams who sort of can't seem to get the 3 points in a really difficult position, but credit to Chelsea for coming back. But, I mean, Kulusevski, I mean, when you talk about Spurs this season, he is one of the real bright spots of it, because right now, I think Spurs supporters will not be happy. But look, he's blaming the kit man, he's blaming someone else. I was more frustrated with that. The fact that he looked like it wasn't his responsibility, it was somebody else's.
Well, he went off, he did change his boots, and it meant that he was steady on his feet for the rest of the game, and then caught up with Enzo Maresca at the final whistle. And as you said, Jamie, it was all smiles by then, because Chelsea had gone on to win the game. And he knows how important Cucurella is to Chelsea across the 90 minutes plus that they played at this stadium. How did Chelsea turn it around, though? From 2-0 down, how did they get a foothold back into the game to set that platform up for the comeback?
Well, first of all, we didn't make 2 silly mistakes at the back. I think the mistakes went out the window, and I don't think the goalkeeper ended up making another mistake. But they score goals. I thought Levy was brilliant. I thought he was outstanding while he was on. And Cucurella played well after that. He gave the ball simple. This is a brilliant goal. He's running here at pace, real pace. And then the way he hits it, it's the way he drills it with bend. It's a brilliant finish. And this is what Chelsea got. They've got X factors all over the pitch. Sanchez hardly touched the ball, and then he cuts inside. And, I mean, it's a brilliant finish. And then all of a sudden they're back into it. I just couldn't see anything after that. Tottenham... But I like Ange. I do. I like him. I like watching Tottenham play, because as a neutral, I know what I'm going to see. And I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I'm watching the game, and it's like we're 2-0 up against Chelsea. Oh, let's just keep on going. It's like we're playing against Kilmarnock or St Mirren, and I'm Celtic manager, and I've got the best players. I haven't got the best players at Tottenham. So I have to change it. I can't go, I'm not Man City, where I can go, you have a shot, we have a shot, and we will destroy you like they have over the years. You've got to be cute. You've got to say, right, we're 2-0 up here, sit back and let's counter-attack. Solanke was ruining the centre-halves. He was holding up, bringing people in.
Couldn't live with him, could they?
Couldn't live with him. It was great, but they didn't. They just went, and they were charging all over the place, and all of a sudden, Lavia, the ball come in, and he just bent it around the corner 3 or 4 times to Enzo Fernandez or Palmer, and they're running at the defenders, and you're like, it's so naive. I don't want to have a go at Ange, because I do like him, but it was too easy for Chelsea. And that's why I said at half-time, there's no doubt that Chelsea win this football match, because I just know what Tottenham are going to do.
I think Maresca deserves credit as well for what he did. In Lavia, we believe that it wasn't an injury or anything like that. We took him off. He was excellent in the first half. But he wanted to get Caicedo into midfield, get Gusto as a conventional right back, and he put Badiashile on the left-hand side, because I think you mentioned in commentary he was really struggling. They looked like they had a lot better balance. And Caicedo, when he went central, just started to run the game. He started too powerful. And Bissouma had 27 seconds of madness. This is it, really, the first time. You're in a good position. It's 59 minutes into the game. You're winning 2-1. Don't make a mistake. And then definitely don't compound it by making another one. Look, he's not really showing enough pace to get back in there. Obviously, that chance looks like it's gone. And I remember you were saying, Paul, Neto's actually lost that momentum. Then you see him come back into shot, Bissouma. Now you're thinking, as a central midfield player, just be clever enough to get yourself in a good position. But he spots the run, and then he just dives into a ridiculous tackle. Absolutely ridiculous.
Is he trying to rescue the situation?
It's a lot of, 20, it's still a lot of time, but it's just still discipline. You can't win it. You know what he's trying to do there. He actually slows himself up, Caicedo, just so he can get the touch. He knows he can do that. Just don't certainly go for that tackle. And then, obviously, only one thing's going to happen when he stood over a penalty.
Yeah, Cole Palmer, of course, with that 100% record, and they were right back into it, and they were level. And then Enzo Fernandez with a really good strike to put Chelsea in front, Jamie.
Yeah, but look at Cole Palmer here. I mean, great players. They attract players to them. Come and try and take it off me. It's almost the ball's glued to his foot. He tries to get a shot away. And then Fernandez, listen, he's in great form. Scores with his left foot. But again, I look at Porro there, and another fullback who's there because he's a good footballer. And he doesn't want to put his body there and just block it. And he's turning away. I mean, he doesn't have to throw himself at it. He's there. Just make your body as big as possible. He makes his body smaller. And that, you know what?
Is he pulling his arms in, do you think? Is he concerned about that?
He goes side on. He goes side on. Just stand there with your arms by your side. I mean, and players like him and the way they play the game, they sum Tottenham up. You'll watch him 1 week and look a great attacking fullback, and we'll talk about him getting between the lines and setting a goal up. But you don't win nothing like that.
And again, they were the architects of their own downfall, Spurs, because it was another penalty to put Chelsea 4-2 up.
This is worse for me, right? You've got Cole Palmer going exactly where you want him, going up towards the corner flag. You know how skillful he is. You know he's going to try and use his body. He's going to try and step across the ball with his right foot just to protect it. And he's going, go on and try and tackle me. He waits. That is so clumsy, and it's just so bad, because when you think about it, this was the moment that cost them the game. They end up getting back to 4-3. Ridiculous challenge, and you've just cost your team. But that's too disciplined by your two defensive midfield players, and that's just beautiful, isn't it? That's audacity, that's quality. I mean, he's not going to get fazed by a title challenge, is he? Look at the keeper.
I think he's got Kukureya's boots on.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Beautiful.
You know, that's 3-2. That's not 5-2 or 6-1. That's like 3-2. The game's still banging the balance. I mean, if he doesn't score that, all of a sudden all the Tottenham players get the bit between their teeth and think, oh, you're winding us up here, and all of a sudden the game changes. Yeah, it just shows you this confidence, the lad. You can see in his interviews that he's playing completely on top of his game.
We'll show you Son's goal in just a second, but I want to ask you about the Caicedo potential red card in the first half, because on first sight you were adamant that this was a sending off offence. Are you still of the same opinion, Jamie?
Oh yeah, I mean, when you're commentating, before the sort of replay goes on at home, you sort of see it. I can see what VAR are looking at, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, this is going to be a red card. Not so much from that angle, but when you see it slowed down, there's another angle. He just comes in, nowhere near the ball, and that there, for me, it just seemed like the most obvious red card you would see. I'm just waiting for them, and I'm almost trying to sound clever on commentary, because I've seen it a couple of times, maybe before people at home have seen it. I'm thinking, that's a definite red card. So you try and make yourself look clever and say, oh, he's going to be off, this is going to be 10v11.
They said not excessive force.
Well, I can hear the VAR, and as soon as he said the word, me and Peter Giordi just looked at each other in just astonishment. I could not believe
Were you amazed, Jamie, that more Tottenham players didn't make a fuss about it? That was a surprise for me, because I think if they'd have got round the referee...
I think when you see it from the normal angle, if you just watch it here, you're not quite sure what is, and there's a lot of bodies there as well, and maybe people didn't see, there's sort of players all on top of each other. But I think when you look at it, and listen, things always look way slowed down. I get that. I mean, if you looked at that normal speed, you're not quite sure what's gone on. But when you slow it down... I mean, how would you judge excessive force? I mean, Listen, I think he's a very, very lucky boy, and that's something I would imagine Postecoglou would look back on at the end of the game.
You remember the one Curtis Jones here a couple of years ago when he played against Tottenham? I don't know if you were doing the game, Jamie, but that was nowhere near as bad as that one. He ended up getting a red card. I think it's just want to see a bit of consistency. He's very lucky, Caicedo.
Caicedo potentially very lucky. Kulusevski lucky not to be sent off as well. Do you think?
I thought so. Because you don't run like that, and you know, that was my opinion. I just don't think you run in like that with your elbow up like that, and you've hit his head. I can understand if he runs in, he charges him and hits his shoulder. I think he knows what he's doing now. I think he's very, very fortunate.
100% he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
You don't run and end up
He's
your elbow.
up, yeah.
So,
as soon as he said it, I said red card.
Maybe, you know, if Postecoglou does complain about the red card, basically Chelsea can throw that one back at him. You know what I mean? That was ridiculous.
They may yet need some cover in that area, and we'll come on to Tottenham's defending. But he was asked there by Emma about comparisons, maybe with Bournemouth in midweek, which maybe isn't the same as this one, in that they didn't create those chances against Bournemouth. But is there a comparison to be made between the other game that they've lost from 2-0 up this season, which is the one against Brighton?
They capitulated completely in that game. I think they were better than that. That midfield was wide open in that Brighton game. It's just more a case of when you look at Tottenham, if you're having a bad run or you need something to go your way, they're just the perfect team to play. If you're Ipswich coming in, not won a game all season, you feel like you're going to get a chance, you end up winning. Crystal Palace not won a game all season, who do you want to play? Tottenham? And that's just a feeling you always get when you see them. You weren't sitting here with any conviction that they were going to hang on to a 2-0 lead because of how open they play. There are times when they're a joy, when you see them play against Man City and they win 4-0 and we go, right, this could be the turning point. But then they just disappoint you again. And you cannot play that open. Now, I will say there were changes from the Bournemouth game, so I watched it, where the keeper was playing out from the back and it was all the time. Today, they didn't do that. They almost took that risk away from him, which made them marginally better. But you can't say that they ever look comfortable today. They're just too easy to play against. And the risk he took with the two centre-backs didn't pay off because you've lost Van der Ven maybe if he's hurt his hamstring again from what it normally is another 6 weeks. I mean, that's a risk that just wasn't worth taking.
He said he didn't think it was too bad, but we don't know.
Yeah, but you don't want it
yeah.
for a player and your responsibility is to make sure that you're taking risk. And I know you want to play, but I don't think they'd have played him if he wasn't under the pressure that he was. But that's sometimes decisions you have to make because you're the manager. Whereas normally, if you was on a good run at full, you might say, look, let's hold you back a bit longer. But because of the run, he doesn't want to obviously start the game with Archie Gray and Dragusin, so he had to do something. But it certainly didn't pay off today.
I mean, you said they never looked comfortable in the game. At half-time, Jamie, when you were on the gantry, Paul was saying at 2-1 down, he was absolutely confident that Chelsea would come back to win this game and win it relatively comfortably. Is that a sort of built-in flaw to Tottenham? Is that something that they accept as part of the way that they set up playing?
Well, the manager accepts it because he keeps telling us he won't change. Now, he said something in his interview there about how well they played. And he said, when we're at our best, we still cause teams problems. I can't imagine any manager I played for Liverpool, if we conceded 4 in a game, would say in the interview that we played well. It almost feels like the defenders, and I know it will be, of course it will be, but at the forefront of his mind, almost listening to that interview, he thinks, we did well today. We scored 3 against Chelsea, we had other chances, we looked dangerous. Now, if you play that way, at times you will have that result away at Man City. But you'd have the bad result as well that you had today when you're 2-0 up or the one at Brighton. And I've never been able to get my head around certain managers at times who say, we play a certain way and we will never change. And I always felt like this started with Pep Guardiola at Barcelona, this idea that we're Barcelona, wherever we go, whoever we're playing against, whatever pitch we're on, whether it's the Nou Camp or away from home, we play our way. OK, that was the best team I've ever seen. But when I hear coaches say it now, I'm scratching my head. Pep Guardiola felt like he had to change his Manchester City team, who were winning leagues every season, to win the Champions League. He felt he weren't strong enough defensively. So he went for bigger... He almost put centre-backs at full-back. Now, this idea that you can't change is just alien to me. And I'm watching the Tottenham players do things in the game. Son did something on the edge of the box a minute before half-time. Now, you might do it after 20 minutes if you 1-0 up, you play a certain way. The game state dictates how you play at times. Not all the time, because you have a way of playing. But if you go away to a tough away ground, You don't play the same as you would do playing out from the back at home against a team near the bottom.
So is this about managing risk? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about? Rather than being
open.
attacking or defensive?
There's this idea of this pure game and this football game, and the Tottenham fans think they've got their Tottenham back. You won't win anything. You won't challenge doing anything. I wake up every morning and I hope the sun's shining. I want to put a pair of trainers on, shorts and a T-shirt on. We all want to do that. But if it's raining, you put your coat on. It is. You know, you can't have this idea about we're just going to do this and go and play our way of playing football. It won't work. And if it doesn't change, he won't be here next season.
So if you look at their defeats this season, all 7 of them have been by 1 goal, even if they're high-scoring games like the one today. They've been by 1 goal. Their 6 wins this season have been by, or 5 of the 6 of them have been by 3 or more goals. So is there a sense that it is risky, but that the risk is balanced towards success?
Towards what? What are they going to do?
Well, I'm saying if they win well, and then they lose narrowly when they lose, does that mean that there is an argument for that way of playing?
No, because when it's going well for them and they're winning football matches, they all want the ball. They all want it and they're all playing. It'll be nice. When it's tough and it's a roll up your sleeves and it's a big derby game like this, or at Brighton when Brighton get on top, they haven't got that. And then people start hiding. When they're winning games, like they will go and destroy teams at times because everybody wants the ball. It's when it gets hard. It's like when it gets there. There was a couple of players that I didn't see anybody like in the end. I mean, that just covered over the cracks, the last goal. That was a right result for them, 4-3, because 4-2 from 2-0 up. I just don't see it. I don't see it with Tottenham, and that's my problem. If they're 2-3-0 up, oh yeah, they'll go on and they'll get you another one and they'll all be coming short and they'll be playing 1-2s and popping it. But when it's a tight game or they go behind, I don't see that. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't one of them players who was like, you know, come on, let's go.
You showed bravery in getting the ball.
I wanted to get the ball. You know, I never hid. You know, I'd always be one of them, even if I weren't playing well. I want to get on the ball. I don't see that here. And that was one of the problems. I don't know what the lads think, but that's one of the problems I see.
I watched it. If you look at the certain things when you look at teams that we all want our teams to be. Now, everyone in football wants to play from the back. Yeah, Tottenham do that, which is fine. We all want our teams to press from the front. That's the modern way of playing. But they find themselves 2-0 up, and they still want to play exactly the same way. There's nothing wrong with just retreating for a 5 or 10 minute period, someone on the pitch, maybe a message from the manager. I said in commentary after about 25 minutes, this is one of the quickest games I've ever seen in my life. It was unbelievable. It was just end to end. And it's a great entertainment. But if you're Tottenham, you've gone 2-0 up. There's nothing wrong with just taking the sting out of the game and make Chelsea just make passes in midfield, round the back, going nowhere. And you can hit them on the counter-attack. And then maybe 10 or 15 minutes later, then you go back to pressing high, or you start the second half really aggressive. This idea that you play the same way from minute 1 to minute 90 is just, it's not right, it's not football.
And there are 3 players here, you know, who've all played at the top level, who are all saying the same thing. You go 2-0 up, and you slightly change the way that you play in order to protect that lead. So just to play devil's advocate, why, if you're playing a way that gets you 2-0 up, do you make changes?
I think that's just where you use your experience, you use your football know-how, and you just make sure that you fill in at the right time. But the problem is, if you're going to play in a way where you're going to bring one of your right-backs into midfield and you're going to vacate and leave space, it doesn't ever feel like they're going to have a plan B to just, let's make sure that let's win this game 2-0. That's not easy in the modern game because the game is so exciting, it's end-to-end, and that's how it gets that feeling. But with Tottenham, I just feel when they haven't got the ball, you always feel like there's a player that's going to be on if the counter-attack. And that happens so often today. That happens every time you watch Tottenham. Now, when I look at the players, now, is that Ange's fault that you get your 2 defensive midfield players do something that's so ill-disciplined? He hasn't got remote control that he can control his players and make them do things like that. But you still have to take responsibility. If you're the manager and your team is so open and you say you don't want to change, that's where it's fundamentally wrong. But for a Tottenham fan, they had Conte was pragmatic. They had Mourinho, didn't work. They had Nuno, didn't work here. And now you've gone the complete opposite scale where, for Tottenham fans, for 10, 15 games last season, they thought, this is it, we found it. This guy's going to make us play beautiful football, expansive, we're going to win. And it hasn't. Now you've gone one extreme to the other. So And that feels like we've said the same things for the last 10 years of coming to watch Tottenham. I just don't know really which way they're going to go next. Because if you sack him, then where else do you go?
But when you say, Kelly, about if you're doing well and you're winning 2-0, why would you change? I get that. You wouldn't change if things were going well. But it wasn't going that well in the first half. They were 2-0 up. But the amount of times a Chelsea player picked that ball up in space in midfield and was running after the defence, you felt the game was going that way. And that's what I'm saying. When you can see Chelsea, Levy, how many times did Levy play one round the corner? And you just like a little, as an experience, you're like, oh, it's not going the edge of your own box. It might be a little, OK, just let's go 10 yards deeper. Let's just take this thing out of this. We don't need to be creating chances. We need to stop Chelsea creating chances. We're 2-0 up. That's what I'm talking about. What you're saying there, Jamie, I agree with you. I was thinking about this. You know, they've changed so many managers, and we talk about Daniel Levy a lot. What Daniel Levy's done here in terms of the training ground and this, for me, I don't think there's a better stadium in the world. I haven't been to Real Madrid's new one, but this, I think, is as good as anything in the world. And that's been Daniel Levy's strength in terms of a really stable football club. The stadium he's delivered the training ground. It's probably some time for somebody else to come in, because to not win a trophy in that period of time with the managers they've had, they've never really gone out of the way in the transfer market. They spent decent money without, you know, blowing other teams out the water. The wage bill's always one of the smallest, and you're never going to get the best players. So it might be a time for actually a Daniel Levy, who I've been a supporter of because you look at the actual work that he's done. But now that work's done in terms of a stadium and a training ground, someone else needs to be in charge of this football club.
He's had 14 managers in 23 years. That's nearly a manager every year and a half. So that's something that has to change.
He's not making the right decision if he's changing managers that
That's
often.
what I'm saying, and it's never him.
This team, and with the front three, if it's going to be Johnson, Son, and Solanke up front, every time they go 2-0 up, they should never lose that lead. Never. Not with that front three, because if you sit back and you count, they've got the perfect counter-attacking team. You play it into Solanke, he was holding it up for fun, he was causing problems. You know, teams have got to take a chance. And when you've got the pace of Son and Johnson, I mean, they should, any time they go 2-0 up, you should be the worst team to play against in the league. You should be sitting there thinking, this is game over, really. This is game over, because when we start taking a chance, they're going to pick us off for fun with their pace, like they did against Man City at times. But it didn't happen. They just go. It's like playing at Power League or goals. It's just like that. It's end to end. It's like basketball.
Can you legislate for the two decisions that led to the penalties? Is there anything a manager can do about that?
No, he can't be. He buys the players. You know,
I'm not sure he does.
brings them.
He didn't. I don't think he bought Basuma. He didn't buy Basuma or Son.
All right, but they're playing.
Yeah.
They're playing. So he trusts them. They play. Then you've got to rely. They're playing in the best league in the world. This is the best league in the world. Everybody loves it. You've got to be a top player to play in the Premier League, they say. So do top things. You know what Sar's doing. I wouldn't expect my boy to do it. He's 9. I'd sit there if my boy was doing it. I'd sit there and think, how could you ever be a footballer if you're doing that and you're 9? And, you know, they're playing in the top league. You know, something's going on. I don't know what it is, but when you're getting coached, they've got to be coached still, these players. You know, you can't just go, oh, they're Premier League players, so go on then, go and play. You've got to get people's discipline. You've got to tell them where to go. Honestly, I was watching today. I'm 56. I could have probably played sometimes in that game where Levy was playing. He was coming in, I was just flicking around the corner. And Palmer's there, and Enzo Fernandez is there, and no one's near him. They're within 20 yards of space, and they're the two players that are the most danger. Lavia's not the danger. Even though he's a good player, he's 60 yards away from the goal. Them two are the dangers. Why? Why is that not happening?
But when you talk about things players do, you can't legislate for crazy challenges like that. Like, you're right, Merce. But Romero gets injured. Whether that he got the injury, he's doing a Cruyff turn in his box.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if your manager is onto you on a daily basis, that's not acceptable. You don't do that. Son on the edge of his own box just before half-time, trying to play a little too... These things that players do, I think Porro did something similar on the edge of... These are things that the manager asks for or looks for, because you wouldn't do it. We don't see other teams do it to the extent that Tottenham do it at times. So that's when I go back to that. But I just want to go back to Daniel Levy, because when you look at, say, Man United, City and Chelsea, really, in terms of what they spend, it's difficult for Spurs to compete with that. Liverpool have probably done it in a clever way, but I go back to Arsenal. Now, we associate Arsenal with winning titles in the past with Arsene Wenger, but they've gone a long time right now. For the last 5-6 years, Tottenham and Arsenal have always been in a fight for the top 4 positions. Arsenal have jumped to a team challenging for the title for this season, the 3rd season running. But we almost expect that because it's Arsenal. How did they do that if they were competing with Spurs for so long. But we always expect that of Arsenal. Nobody in this country ever expects Spurs to challenge for the title because we think it's a mentality thing. And that's why I go back to the top of the club. How can Arsenal have done it without going crazy, spending-wise, and Tottenham couldn't have done it when they were competing for so long? That to me...
You mentioned the stadium. Can they compete in the transfer market if they're also building a stadium and renovating rebuilding the training ground?
In a different way, Kelly. I think that's what they want to do. Like, even in the summer, I think the manager's probably thinking to himself, I need a bit of help here in the transfer window. Yeah, I'll get Solanke, that's fine. But then he brings a lot of young players in. That, they might be good for the future. But when you're a manager and you know this is a chairman that gives you a year and a half on average, you need players for now. And that's the difference. So when you talk about the difference between Arsenal and Tottenham, so the big example, or the most important example I would give you is Arsenal went out and they want Declan Rice. We need that player in our midfield to give us something. Would Spurs do that? I cannot remember the last time Spurs bought a ready-made star.
Well, they spent 134 million in the summer, but would you say that they spent it particularly
I think so. I like Solanke. I do, and I think he's going to improve. But as a manager, what you need, how do we make that jump into the top four? Is you need good characters. You might need a little bit of experience. You don't necessarily want young players that are going to... You need them for now. You've got to go and get top four. You're on borrowed time. He was under a little bit of pressure last year as the manager. So this year, give me a couple of players that I need. I can't think off the top of my head, probably the biggest player they bought for a while was Ndombele, maybe 60-odd million pounds, but that was still a bit of a risk. There's not been too many, and I think that's been a difference between Arsenal and Tottenham, where they've gone, right, we need Declan Rice. Doesn't matter what it cost us, we're going to bring him into this building and make us a better team. And that's why Arsenal have made a jump and Tottenham have gone the other way.
But every other big team, I know we class it as the top six. I know some people don't like that. But the other 5 teams, we always associate them and expect them to win. And eventually, they'll find a way to win. Tottenham finds a way to lose. You never believe for any second that they're going to win a trophy or they're going to win a big game or they're going to get across the line. Even if Liverpool are having a bad few years, they'll come back. United have had a torrid time for the last few years, but they still win the cup final last year and the year before. And that's not, for me, it's just about Erik ten Hag. That's about a DNA, a mentality, a club, a belief that they can win big games. You never, ever get that feeling that Tottenham will do anything.
16 years since Tottenham have won a trophy. Could they win the Carabao Cup this year, for example?
People see, there's obviously a debate with Tottenham fans. There's either top 4 or win a trophy. For right now, Tottenham need to win a trophy.
Can't they do both?
Yeah, they
Merson
can.
thinks they can win the Carabao Cup.
Yes, they can. I'm not saying they can't. Of course, that is more important than anything else. They have to win a trophy because that's the stick that they always get beaten with. If they win a trophy this year, then that gives them the confidence and the belief that then, yes, if they can get top 4. But they need to change the history of this club because for too long they have, like Jamie said, they've had that attitude about them where they've just not been successful. You always feel like they're going to let you down. Whereas if they go and win a trophy this year, it will just give Ange a bit of confidence, it'll give them a bit of breathing space, and then possibly you could get top 4. They've got Man United here, it was at quarterfinals. Of course they can win it. It's not going to be easy because people might say that's not a big trophy to win. If you look at the winners over the last 10, 15 years, it's either been Man City, Liverpool or Manchester United. I think Swansea were the last team that we're probably surprised by to win it. But I just feel right now that is more important than getting top 4. The owners here might not want it as much, but it's definitely better for the fan base and the club and for the players for sure.
Well, as he said, he doesn't think that Arsenal, Manchester City or Liverpool will slip up in the run-in between now and the end of the season, in which there are plenty of games still left to play. But they already have a march on Arsenal and Manchester City. They're 2 points clear of Arsenal. They're 4 points clear of City. They've done their goal difference absolutely no harm whatsoever, particularly with the result against Southampton in midweek. And they're 4 points off Liverpool, who do admittedly have a game in hand at the top of the table. The maybe more significant thing as we look ahead to their next fixtures, and actually if you look ahead to their next 7 Premier League fixtures, none of the 7 teams that they'll play in their next 7 Premier Leagues are currently in the top 7 in the table. And this looks like a relatively friendly group of fixtures upcoming.
It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad. No disrespect to Brentford, but if you had to pick someone to play at home this week, Brentford with Brentford's away record, even though they do well at Stamford Bridge, they're a bogey team for Chelsea. But it's a nice set of fixtures, it is, but they still have to turn up. Brentford will be hard. I used to hate going to Everton. Everton was a hard place to go. It will still be a hard game, but the pressure's on now. You know, when you're 5th, 6th, 7th in the league, you chip away and no one says a word. Everybody's watching Chelsea now. They're right in this. People, the pressure's on. We see it with Brighton the other week. They get second in the league and then they go and draw with Southampton and lose somewhere else, you know. That's the problem they have. You know, it's the pressure. It's who handles the pressure the best. And that's why these top teams like Liverpool and Man City, they do it year in, year out. It's so different, so different playing under pressure.
Is that why it's maybe relevant that this group of players at Chelsea haven't been in a title race before?
Maybe, but in the interview he did with Pat Davidson before the game, I think he said that he spoke to Ranieri a couple of days ago. Now, you go back to Leicester winning the title, and no matter when he was asked could they win the title, he used to just say dilly 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 dong, just something, you know, something just random, and he never wanted to answer the question. And maybe that'll be, you know, the advice in that he's speaking to him about, because they are definitely in it. You know, you look at some of the attacking players, and no team's perfect. I'm talking about the goalkeeper is not great, but there's probably areas in Liverpool's team where you think could they improve there. The same with Arsenal, no doubt with City right now, but I just think certain positions almost feel more important than others when you think of teams who win the biggest prizes, and that's what it probably make me say right now that I still look at the goalkeeper. Even today, you know, a couple of clearances, Tottenham could have got a goal from it. You know, you can lose a game. Maybe you go to Everton, you lose that 1-0 because of a situation with the goalkeeper. You think of the game at Anfield, Chelsea played Liverpool off the park. Really, Liverpool were delighted to get the final whistle. But you look at that game, the goalkeeper let them down in that. And I just think, when I look at sort of Liverpool's goalkeeper and even Arsenal's goalkeeper, I think they're a level above Chelsea's.
He says he doesn't think the teams also challenging for the title will slide between now and the end of the season. Do you think they'll have perfect finishes? It's not even a finish, is it? From the middle of it right the way through to the end.
Of course, there's going to be so many drop points, so many twists and turns. Nobody's perfect. I don't think any of us thought that Liverpool would be in this position at the start of the year. I certainly didn't think Chelsea would be. I thought this was going to be a season of chaos for them. I thought the manager was going to come under pressure, trying to keep everybody happy, but he's made it look so easy. And the fact they're winning, it just keeps every squad member happy. You've got the cup that you can play them in as well. He's done an incredible job. So they are absolutely right in the mix. Now, if they don't win a title this year, what they've shown me watching them in his first 13, 14 games is they'll be definitely contending for the next 3 or 4 years because of the young players they've got, because of the quality they've got. He's solved the conundrum which other managers struggled with Enzo Fernandez as well for me at the moment. He looks exceptional in midfield. He looks like the player that they bought for 108 million or whatever it was. I thought the Premier League was just too quick for him. He wouldn't be able to compete. You've got to obviously play him high up the pitch. He's not a defensive midfield player. But so far, for him, as the managerial job that he's done, has been absolutely fantastic. And he's turned that club into contenders very, very quickly.
Lavia looks pretty special. We talk about Cole Palmer being a young player, and they've got a lot of young players there, but watching him there today,
yeah.
You know, Liverpool tried to buy Caicedo and Lavia, and you're disappointed from a Liverpool point of view, they miss out. But when you look at Lavia, you're thinking he's going to have to find. It's going to be interesting how he finds a way to make that midfield sort of way. He's got Caicedo at right back. That can't last forever. He's not a right back. I think it's be very difficult not to pick Lavia in midfield. I thought he was the best player on the pitch in the first half, and obviously he went off for whatever reason, but he looks a tasty player.
All of which means that Chelsea are very much challenging for this Premier League title. There is lots more football to come for you on Sky Sports. There's still Monday Night Football. We're not done with this match round of games. West Ham against Wolves. Both managers are under pressure. This is a big game in the bottom half of the table. 6:30 for all the build-up. Who's your guest, Jamie?
Jermaine Defoe.
Looking forward to watching that one. 6:30,
right
and you'll be reviewing. Yes, I've approved it now. Now it's been stamped. You can book his taxi. So 6:30, your roundup as always. All the best of the action from the weekend, and then look ahead to that big game between West Ham and Wolves. Thank you to both Jamies. Thank you very much to Paul. And as we saw here on Super Sunday, Chelsea very much in this title mix.